Hey, so I'm here at a swimming pond project down in the, what would it be, the southeast of England, and this is not one of our builds, so I just want to make that really clear. This isn't a job that we've built. I've been asked to come and do a survey on it today because they've got excessive algae growth, and it was installed about 5 years ago now, 4 or 5 years ago, which is a trend that we're currently seeing. And they find it really difficult to maintain, and they've struggled getting hold of the company that installed it, and find it very difficult to get hold of them and communicate with them, and also them actually explain what's happening. So 3 things I would say any swimming pond project, the 3 things, the key core things I would say it needs to have. 1, it should absolutely be safe, okay? It's a swimming pond, not a swimming pool, but the electric should be safe, the water should be safe, everything about it should be safe. That's key, number 1, paramount. Number 2, it should be easy to maintain. We shouldn't be installing these projects and then being really difficult for clients. So most of our swimming pond clients might take a maintenance out of us for a year, possibly 2 years, but after 2 years, probably just do it themselves. So it's not a long term they need us. You know, we're going to make them so the long term they're going to function and be right. The 3rd thing, they should be beautiful to look at. Right, so this is the swimming pond. Now, beautiful to look at, absolutely. Love the swim lane, love the construction work that's been done on it. I'm not sure if that's wood we would have used, oak. Some nice planting, heavy planting, not needed. I'll go through that. The biggest myth I ever hear is pond plants do filter the water. They don't filter the water. It's absolute nonsense. They don't. What they do is they do take out phosphates and nitrates at a low level, and they do help keep sunlight off the ponds. That's what they do, but they don't filter the water. And the reason they don't filter it is because the bacteria that does the nitrogen cycle actually lives in the gravel, right? So because in a pond built this way, because it lives in the gravel, eventually that becomes silted up, and what eventually happens is the bacteria can't live in it. Bacteria likes movement, it likes oxygen, it likes clear water, clean water. That's what it likes, and that's where it functions well, which is why in a filter it's so much better. So I'm just going to show you a few things on this that I'm commonly seeing on swimming pond projects we haven't installed. They've been installed by another company, and pretty much most of what we're seeing is this. I don't know if you can see that. Blanketweed. Algae. It's all on the bottom of the pond. You can see it there on the sides. Look at that. It's everywhere. So, predominantly, the reason why there's so much algae in here will be twofold. One of them is the water comes from a borehole, which is fine in theory. I haven't done the water testing on this yet, and I'll do that when I get back to the office. But generally speaking, what happens is borehole water, loads of farms in this area, water's probably going to be quite high of ammonia, nitrite and phosphates, because of obviously the fertilisers used in the field. So it's probably going to be quite high in all of them. So when the water comes back in the pond, it wants a pre-filter on it to filter that water, so not so much of that goes back in. So that's the first thing that's going to need addressing. The second thing is there's no filtration on it other than sand filter, and I think what looks like a bubble bead filter in there. So the problem is with them is they don't actually store bacteria very well, particularly because they actually need cleaning quite often. So for me, great for swimming pools, not so great for ponds, full stop, okay? The other thing I'd like to point out on this is I talk about projects being safe. Now, electrics in swimming ponds. Electrics should be 2 meters, mains electrics should be 2 meters away. So you can use 12 volt pumps in ponds, that's fine, as long as the transformer's 2 meters away, because the mains electric is connected to the transformer. That's what we do in all our projects. If you're going to do a under like a bottom drain type system, so everything's underground like this is here. And I'll just lift up one of these and you can see. If you can do something like this, then that needs to be 2 meters away from the pond because of the mains electric. I'll show you something which to me is scary. So them electrics 2 meters away, fine. That's all we're going to put on new filtration. That'll be out of the way. I just want to show you something on this video which to me is really scary. So the reason why we talk about 2 meters away with mains electrics is if any water gets into that mains electrics and you happen to be stood in the water when that happens near it, you could absolutely die, right? And there should be absolutely zero risk of anybody dying on something they've invested an incredible amount of money on for a swimming pond. So I'm just going to show you this. That's electrics there. As you can see, it's very close. Now you might go, well, the water's all the way down there, but this water comes up, you can see the wood's damp. You can see the water comes up at some points. And because the water comes up, basically, it touches any electrics in there. If you were stood in that section, you'd feel it. I'm not 100% going to say it'd kill you, but you'd definitely feel it if you didn't die from it. So, not safe. Okay, electrics cannot be that close. They cannot be. I mean, basically, these electrics are in the pond. The pond actually goes all the way to here, and they're in the pond. Not only they're here, but also under that decking, there's a bunch of electrics under there. That's not the way to do it. The other problem with it is because the filtration's underground, that means you have to have heavy decking that you have to lift, and you have to get into this pit where all the filtration is. Again, it's not easy maintenance. That's not an easy life. An easy life is having something outside of the pond. You can cover it up with screening, cover it up with planting, and it's above ground. And that way it's waist high. Any maintenance that needs doing on it is simple. So this is where we're going to put it. So, I'm afraid this is a very common install that we see. And luckily we're here to put it right. So the 3 things I mentioned. Visually, absolutely it's stunning. Yeah, I mean, the planting's struggling a bit, and it could do, if you're going to have these big planting beds, have plants in them, because it looks a bit bare if you don't. But apart from that, it's you know, been well constructed. One of the 3 was it being easy to maintain. Well, it isn't. You got to lift up all these heavy things to get to the filtration. The skimmer's also difficult. I've had a look at the skimmer, can't even work out if it's on or off. Whereas the ones we use, it was very obvious whether it's on or off. And the third thing is, which is quite evident to me, is it safe? No, it isn't safe. Now, I'll just be clear, I've been in hundreds of ponds myself with normal mains electrics. Absolutely, of course I've done it. You know, any pond builder would have done it. But the reality is, you know not to go near the pump, you know not to mess about with the wire, you know not to get too near the electrics. You know, you're mindful of that. But obviously with the swimming pond, you're installing it for a client, saying they can safely swim in it, and that absolutely needs to be adhered to. So electrics needs to be moved away. So, that is my visit of this swimming pond. I've had a really great chat with the clients, and we're looking forward to solving all the problems they've got and giving them an easy maintenance swimming pond that we can retrofit that micro-weed system that we do onto this, that takes care of all the key elements that stops algae from growing. Again, it's treating the problem, not the cause. The problem of what everybody is doing in the industry, or not everyone, everyone's not fair. So of a lot of what I'm seeing is a lot of them are treating the cause, not the problem. You've got to get your head around the problem, and the problem is what the blanketweed uses for food. If you restrict the food, you stop the food, the blanketweed stops growing. And you know what? If the blanketweed stops growing, the maintenance reduces. The maintenance reduces. I don't mind if clients only take us out for 2 years for maintenance. I don't care if they don't take us out for 1 year. It's absolutely fine by me. I just want to install projects that I can be proud of, that I can sleep at night, and I know that are going to give the client absolute utter joy, because that to me is far more important than selling years and years of maintenance.